People have been calling 2020 a dumpster fire of a year. They've been using a lot of comparisons to describe the year. Like the My Plans 2020 memes, which I love, by the way. Keep them up, keep making those are gold. However, I believe I have found the perfect comparison. 2020 is the Mortal Kombat Annihilation of years. For those of you who are unaware, Mortal Kombat Annihilation is a 1997 martial arts action film, and it is the sequel to the 1995 film Mortal Kombat, based on the popular video game series of the same name. And it is awful. Widely considered to be one of the worst movies ever made. And not just to the general public, to Mortal Kombat fans as well, like myself. They agree. Without getting too specific just yet, the movie is just filled with terrible special effects, even for the time. Awful costumes, hilariously bad acting and dialogue, a ludicrous, nonsensical plot. It's just the worst. But I'm not just saying this because both the movie and 2020 are the worst. No, there are very specific elements in Mortal Kombat Annihilation that echo 2020 almost perfectly, which makes it the perfect comparison. First of all, going into both of these things, we didn't have the highest of expectations. Like, what we had previously seen didn't set the highest bar, but there was still a little bit of hope, a little bit of optimism. But it doesn't get off to a good start because immediately there is a threat of a catastrophic global conflict and things look really ugly. And like right away, the actor character is killed. So, someone super famous is dead and there's no more acting. And as it turns out, there's this white guy who is obsessed with power, who has been trying to ignore or flat out break the rules in order to get power. And he surrounds himself with equally awful, freaky looking people to do his bidding. And leading the resistance against him is an old white guy with weird hair, backed by a person of Asian descent and supported by a diverse group of people, including the daughter of one of the top advisors to the dictator guy. And to try to both keep and gain power and defeat his opponent, the dictator guy conspires with another very powerful white guy. Now, I know a lot of what I just said mostly happened in 2019, but the impeachment trial was still happening in 2020, so it's relevant. So chaos has ensued, people in major cities start dying, and the most powerful beings that could actually help put a stop to this thing that's killing people decide to not do anything and to just let everybody fight and die amongst themselves. So yeah, throughout this whole thing, there's people in major cities that are dying. There's fires and storms everywhere. There's a bunch of people wearing masks, only in real life the good people are wearing masks, not the other way around. Keep wearing your masks. And there's this weird animal guy who is a big deal for a little bit, but is ultimately just a blip in this monstrosity and is somehow completely forgotten about because everything is just so awful. There's twists and information throughout that just don't seem to make much sense. There's big plot points that seem like they're gonna be huge, but just like the weird animal guy, are forgotten about or abandoned. And throughout this whole sandpaper slip and slide, just when you think it can't get any worse, it always somehow does. Does that not look like 2020? Could you not see that happening this year? And this is great. In the movie and in 2020, just when it seems like all is lost and there's no hope left at all, a Native American man shows up and people start to believe that there is hope again, that maybe it's gonna be okay. And in the end, the megalomaniac is defeated in a battle that lasts almost a week. And it is worth noting that in the movie, the dictator guy, he refused to follow the rules and accept the outcome of a fair system that meant he could not invade Earth. And that's what started this whole thing. It didn't start this whole thing in 2020, but it's worth noting that there's also a dictator guy in the movie who will not accept the results of a fair process. The only difference in the ending of these two eye acupunctures, justice for conspiring with someone to defeat an opponent is actually served. And in true Mortal Kombat Annihilation fashion, it was that ugly. And get this, this is such a kicker. Both 2020 and Mortal Kombat Annihilation were literally good for only one person. A bald guy whose name starts with a J. Did not make that up. This is the only critic listed on Rotten Tomatoes that gave it a good review, and Jeff Bezos made billions of dollars during the pandemic. Only good for one bald guy whose name starts with a J. But ultimately, just like Mortal Kombat Annihilation, 2020 will have a happy ending. And that happy ending is the fact that it ends. So there it is. 2020 is the Mortal Kombat Annihilation of years. Thank you for your time.